Those guys over there need to be really careful. They don't need to be speaking out on their teammate. They need to keep that in-house because they could lose him. Colin, read between the lines. Have the Giants mishandled the Odell Beckham Jr. situation?
Well, it's a hard situation. You have a really good player, and he's very emotional. But if you look at the history of the National Football League, it's mostly been won by men and adults. You can have all these guys on the outside, but it's leaders, because all these games are decided by 4 points, okay? And what happens in crisis? You're relying on men. You're relying on the adults. And listen, it hasn't been handled perfectly. But even today, Odell Beckham came out and said, man, I got to get this buttoned up. So I don't think it's the easiest situation. But if you want to win big games in this league, you need leaders. Right now, he's being a kid on the sidelines, not a grown-up.
He's been 100% a problem and an issue for this team. It's very difficult. I like what Brandon Marshall's saying, though, because Brandon Marshall was an emotional guy that had some issues. I think he recognizes in Odell similar things and saying, hey, if you push too hard, you can push him away. And so it would be best, I think, if the Giants handled this more in-house. But maybe they went public, Ray, because they were trying to handle it in-house and it wasn't working.
Yeah, you know what, but I'm kind of with Brandon a little bit, really, because if you push too much and you don't know the deeper issue, then you might have a real issue. That's what Brandon Marshall, that's why it took him so long to really figure out his issues, because nobody couldn't really figure out why Brandon was acting the way he was acting. Then he found out that something was really wrong with him.
Medically.
Right, absolutely. And so when you think about these guys, when you see Odell's response, he's crying on the sideline. Like that.
That's not normal.
That's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay to get mad. Everybody gets mad. Everybody gets pissed off. But when you start to get that emotional, then the question for me is there something else going on? And that's why I think the Giants need to forget the football player for a minute. Think about the man. Think about the kid that you drafted.
But don't you think this is something they could have addressed in the offseason, given the Carolina situation at the end of last year?
But you know, you listen to Les Miles. I've been friends with Les for a few years, right? And kind of the first thing, when Odell first came in, I had Odell when he first came in. I mean, I talked to Odell almost every other day. This has never happened. This ain't just like it's been from college and then he started to come to the league to that.
We've watched Mets and Yankee players and Knicks players. J.R. Smith in New York isn't J.R. Smith in Cleveland. Some of this could be New York City. J.R. Smith's a different human in Cleveland.
Culture to some people is everything.
Right.
I'm telling you. And you think about what's not in the locker room, right? Whether it's there or not, it's not speaking up. And that's a true leader. Somebody that's been through that's been through some type of fire, that he can not only understand, but he can look at it and say, wow, no, I respect that, because that has been where I haven't been yet.
Ray, I want to ask one thing, or I want to put one thing on the table. As football has become bigger and bigger and more about money, I'm wondering if coaching has become more businesslike than take a Dick Vermeil from a previous generation. I watched him in Kansas City, and even as a professional coach, he had a total man program in terms of trying to build men while in the NFL. And I wonder if we're seeing less of that. And maybe that's why an old school guy like Tom Coughlin is sounding off, because a younger coach like Ben McAdoo
just doesn't relate.
Yes.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, the league is going that route, right? We're crowning guys. Younger and cheaper. Right? And so we're crowning these guys so early. I mean, you remember a year ago when Odell made this catch, it's like, he's better than Jerry Rice. I'm like, Jesus, we gonna give him Jerry Rice? Right? Clowney comes out and make one play in college, and he's the next most dominant thing.
LT.
You know, he's LT. So when you think about what the league is doing, it's like they're almost creating their own problems.
Yeah.
You know, because they're crowning these guys when, I mean, you was talking yesterday, you had to earn the respect to be crowned, man, when I came in this league.
You didn't dance until year 4.
You have to wait for that.
And you had to ask for that.